This spirited man had a rough week in which getting a puncture in a brand new tire was a bit of a relief. This was the fun part of the week. Everybody has a bad week. The Dalai Lama has a bad week sometimes. There isn't enough time left this week to write and shoot something complicated, an epic movie with a deep resonant theme. Isn't enough time to build something clever and shoot it. So this spirited man, in an attempt to cheer himself up from his crummy, crappy week, will jump on his bike and take comfort in Los Angeles, visiting places he loves, and try to tell you about them, about why they have this comforting effect on him. The tire is back and full. Time to eat, so I'm gonna go to Bobby's because I love Bobby's. Bobby's is an American restaurant. Maybe Bobby's is my favorite restaurant in all of Los Angeles. Bobby's is what we call back east a diner. Diners were the first restaurants when we were teenagers where we could afford to eat with our own money. The first sit-down waiter service places, or waitress service places. We used to call them waiters and waitresses back then. Diners are one of the things I love about America. I can't remember the name of that diner on 184 in Groton. That was sort of my growing up diner. You could get 2 eggs, toast, and coffee for $2.75, and that's an unlimited cup of coffee, free refills. And that was around 1992. It was $2.75. And I think the same breakfast costs $9.95 at Bobby's. The one I went to growing up in Groton was open 24 hours a day, and when we'd return home from college during breaks, it's where you'd run into people. This is before cell phones, and you'd run into people that you hadn't seen since high school. Anyway, I love diners. In Tokyo, this guy named Kun, who actually did the voice for Mayor Kobayashi in the movie Isle of Dogs, he brought Tom Sachs and me to his sister's restaurant in Tokyo, and it was called The Breakfast Club. And it was a near exact replica of an American diner. And it was such a strange sensation for an American guy to be in Tokyo experiencing this deep and sort of sacred familiarity. There were 2 flaws in the Breakfast Club, in this Japanese American diner, that sort of gave it away as not exact. And the first was their espresso machine, because it was way too nice for an American diner. And the second was the immaculate and beautiful bathroom. That's Japan, though. God bless them. At Bobby's, I ordered the All-American. It's called the All-American because it's actually 2 breakfasts. There's Mulholland Highway and Mulholland Drive, and I don't really know the difference. I had a bad week that consumed most of my video making days, so what I did was I went on a motorcycle ride with a couple cameras and spoke notes into the camera to sort of give you an idea of what goes through one's head on a motorcycle ride. So this video is basically a combination of my thoughts when I'm riding and the thoughts I'm having while I'm editing this.
It's very difficult to convey the majesty of Mulholland, but I'll try to do that later.
On certain isolated spots on Mulholland, I think about the beautiful Steve McQueen, about a story Eric Burden wrote about McQueen and Mulholland Drive. Eric Burden was the lead singer of the Animals, and the Animals sang that song. We gotta get out of this place if it's the last thing we ever do. And Eric Burden and McQueen were friends. So McQueen has this Jaguar race car that he runs through the canyons on Mulholland Drive back towards Hollywood, not this part. This part's near Malibu. But it's the olden days, the 60s, so Mulholland looks more like this, like what you're looking at now. There's no houses like there are now. And McQueen has this game of outrunning the cops in his Jaguar race car. So one day the cops set up a roadblock and they catch him and they throw McQueen in jail. McQueen's terrified they're going to throw the book at him, and Burden says the only thing that meant everything to McQueen was his driver's license. So it turns out that the cops were just messing with him, and, they let him go. And then McQueen stopped doing it. He stopped racing the Jag up and down Mulholland. They have these translucent gas tanks for dirt bikes, so you can see how much gas you got without a fuel gauge. And turns out McQueen invented that. Steve McQueen invented that. How about that? Burden said McQueen smelled like a combination of gasoline, black powder, and weed smoke. Pop out onto the PCH in Ventura County, not actually LA anymore. And when I cross the county line in my head, every time I sing the Beach Boys lyric from Surfin' USA. Here, I'll do a Yui so we can see the sign from the LA side. Ventura County line. And my ritual is to sort of visualize this story by Hunter S. Thompson about this motorcycle ride he had. Or maybe it's about an amalgam of rides on a particular route that he condensed into one story. It's called Midnight on the Coast Highway. And he's talking about a stretch of the PCH up in San Francisco. But I always imagine, especially when it's dark, that I'm the rider in the story. The story talks about how at 100 miles per hour your tears evaporate before they reach your ears, even in the cold of night. midnight on the coast highway. He said he just came home from the ride one night, sat down at his typewriter, and boom, 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 wrote it all the way through, never edited it, never touched it. And that almost never happens. It begins with a remembered line from a long-forgotten poem, and the line is this: "All my life, my heart has sought a thing I cannot name." Thompson said that it was his favorite thing that he ever wrote.